Trying to figure out who my character
Hello! Shut up. Hello! Welcome to my show, Jarviskjir, A House Affair. Why is it called A House Affair? Are two houses having a sexual intercourse outside of wedlock? We will see the devious plots unfurl. Is everybody a little bit excited?
That's not what I signed up for.
No, that is what you signed up for.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we signed up for this, and that's why I came.
That's why you came.
Several times.
Okay, so if you didn't know, this is a D&D game in my world, Jarviskjir, that I've been playing D&D in for like 4 years. Basically, some people at uni were like, "Hey, we want to play D&D, and you talked about DMing once, so you going to DM this game for us?" Yeah, okay, and then I did. Spoiler alert. So it's a little different. If you haven't seen the video me and Scott did, sort of explaining the little bits of differences, it's not necessary, but you might get a little bit of insider information, a little bit of secret hush-hush stuff that maybe some of these folks don't even know. So, Neil, how you doing? Neil is Nachts. How do you pronounce your name?
I've kind of adopted everyone's method of Naghite. Obviously, I never had to say it, so the easiest way was just everyone seemed to say Naghite or Nor, but Nor doesn't seem to make sense.
Nor? There's a Y in there.
I don't know about that.
Mort?
He is one of the ones that I play D&D with normally,
Yes.
so that's why he's here. The same is of... You don't get to talk yet. The same is of Arvine, down here. Which your name is also Ian, but I'm going to be calling you Arvine a bunch, just of memory.
Don't worry, I completely respond to Arvid at this point.
It's true.
Yeah. My own fault for using it as my Twitter handle and everything else. But yeah,
It's a good name, though.
Yeah, it is. I'm one of the people who is in Ollie's D&D non-stream games. So that's that's the reason I'm here as well.
Yeah. And Dean. How
What
is
up?
it, Dean? What's up, Dean?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. That's all the small talk you get. And Scott, what's it like to be on the other side of the table? Are you scared yet?
I'll get back to you.
Okay, good. Good. Fucking. You're useless. Okay! I see no reason not to begin. Do any of you have a reason why we should not begin?
I want to get going.
This sounds a lot like a wedding.
Objection.
This is a wedding. I've told it's a house affair.
You told me I shouldn't be wearing pink, and so, I don't know if I'm ready. Am I allowed to reveal myself? Is that okay?
You're not allowed to reveal yourself. This is Twitch.
No revealing yourself
Yeah.
on stream. I'm pretty sure that's against Twitch rules.
It's so fun.
I think they just solidified, definitely, men can be topless.
That's the
It's a
thing.
really short character arc. In the first episode, you reveal your true colours. It's very strange.
The true color is pink.
Oh. Ollie, my true color is purple. Pink is just, me fronting. Okay?
Okay. Weird. So, where this story begins is in the city of Aradia. Aradia is the capital of Wood Elf society. To call it a city is kind of not right. It's like there's a central city, but it's of Wood Elf design so that the outer towns are so intermingled with the inner city. It's become one big nation of elves. And there's forests and streams and a canal system and everything in between. So it's just one big amalgam of forests and beautiful buildings and art and trade and a lot of elves that some people may find pleasant and some people might not.
Fucking elves.
We turn our attention to the Dutied houses, which I believe I briefly explained with Scott. But in Aradia, the nobility is put into noble houses, Dutied houses is what they call them, put into place by the king, or agents of the king, to be more exact. This story focuses right now on House Agast, a particularly old elvish house, one that's probably been around as long as the city. and their focus is in creating weaponry, particularly weaponry for the Wood Elf military. They have been around for a long time. Every dutied house is like a family with other families underneath them, and they have estates. They're almost like private villages. The estate for House Agast is almost fortified. It has castle walls, but they're walls that are so old, they're basically just there for decoration at this point. It has trading ports along the canals, it has forges, it has its own orchards. It's a very large place. Most of the dutied houses are in the inner ring of Aradia. There's an inner ring and an outer ring and then outer towns. But this one is not. It's in the outer ring to the northwest. Which is a little weird, but it's so old and it's so different. It's kind of sitting there on its own. But who do we start with? I think I know who we start with. Caitlin Halen. You are currently entering Agast Estate, which isn't as easy as it seems, because you wouldn't be allowed in the front doors. You have been told a way that you know how to get in there. You've been told it. You've been probably working here at least a year, which to an elf is not any much time at all, but to a human like yourself, it adds up. You've taken this route many times. You actually go along the canal under a bridge, which is why there's no guards there. And it's not like this house has their own private guards, but also town guards who are like, wait a minute, you're not meant to be in here. Do you have a meeting? And luckily you just sneak on in. And you're not even sneaking, you just blatantly walk. Caitlin, why don't you describe yourself real quick?
Caitlin is a human of average height. She is a little bit on the bulky side, although it is clearly muscle and such like, rather than being fat or anything. Basically, she's clearly has fighting experience, is a trained warrior, although the air isn't that of someone who's had formal training as a soldier or anything. It's more like perhaps a little bit mercenary, but a mercenary who's trying to be quite knightish.
She doesn't come off as aggressive.
No, she doesn't.
If you talk to her, you would, like, you look at her, clearly she is a warrior, but you would probably assume she's some kind of knight or adventurer because she's just so damn friendly.
Yeah, she's got a pleasant smile, and she smiles at everything. So she comes across as just quite a nice person generally. And she's got about shoulder-length brown hair and blue eyes, and is otherwise fairly ordinary. Maybe a little bit pretty, but
what isn't ordinary is your clothing. You are wearing chainmail of vaguely elvish design. Lots of greens, flowing tabards, and it's very...
Yes, it looks a bit weird because it's clearly designed. Well, it's not clearly designed for a human, but on a human it looks a bit odd.
It's definitely, you had to get someone to fit it to you. You didn't get it out the blacksmith and put it on. It would have gone down to your knees.
Yeah. The other thing that's weird is that she has, in addition to the shield on her back, she has a long sword on one hip. But on the hip, you'd normally think of as the main weapon, is actually a warhammer, which you really don't see much of it in Elven
You don't see a lot of warhammers in Aradia.
Oh shit!
That's for sure. You know what I just remembered I didn't do. So yeah, you are entering House Agast. You know exactly where to go. You're going to your boss's office. You're going to your boss's office, which is not necessarily an office he owns himself. This estate has lots of buildings. It has a castle. This estate has its own castle, which is where the leaders of the house, like the main family members, would stay. But the building you're going into is it's a beautiful building. This is a beautiful area. It's elvish creation. It's got sort of vines creeping up it, which are totally deliberate. Probably someone's job to make sure they grow the right way and don't get in the way of the windows or anything like that. But it's not like this person owns this building. In fact, you enter the building. There is a receptionist who looks at you, who is a full-blooded elf who looks at you with, like, barely moving their head, and then looks back down. They know who you are. They know they're not meant to write that you've come here. And you immediately go down the stairs into the basement. When you enter the basement, which usually walks towards your boss's office, something's a little strange. There are 2 Radiant guards there. Radiant guards wear light metal armor made of a green metal, which is called Viridian. And they look like they're just sort of bored. You know, they're keeping watch. But then people would never keep watch here, and you know people would never keep watch down here. It doesn't make sense. But they are standing outside the door, waiting, kind of bored. Very bored, actually.
Right. Well, I would sort of blink a few times in surprise at this very unusual happening, but I would go up to them and sort of smile and pleasantly say, "Is there something going on? I'm expected here, but I'm not used to there being guards outside. Is there anything I should know?"
We're not here for you. If you have a meeting, I recommend you take it as you normally would.
Right. Thank you. Then I will. I'll sort of go to enter the.
You enter the office. Beautiful place. Beautiful office. Wood, like lovely glazed wood. There is a short sword of fairly well make. That's not English or Elvish. On the deck above the desk, there's a fairly nice desk. You actually know this. You know, it looks a little nicer. He had it refurbished one of these times when in between one of your visits. It's actually quite old. And there is a bowl of what you've learnt are kind of mints, like a minted candy on the desk. Your boss is not there. You're like, he's always here. You do a scan of the room and you see what you assume to be a high elf slouching in one of the chairs. Usually the chairs are around the desk. He has moved it into a corner and is slouching there, not looking very amused. Would you like to describe yourself, Vale?
So I am Erevale Valanair, and I am an elf, as Elise mentioned. So I have the sort of lithe build and grace that you might expect, but I'm a sun elf, which is, in Ollie's universe at least, they're a bit stockier than normal elves.
Mm-hmm.
Jawlines are a bit stronger, brows a bit heavier, eyebrows a bit bigger. And they have a lot of them have a sort of metallic sheen hue, like a slight goldish tint. Copper, bronzes are not uncommon for sun elves. They're created by a sun god, as you might expect. And they're pretty rare nowadays. Sun god kind of abandoned them.
They're so rare that as NPCs you probably don't know their existence, which is why I said that Caitlin is just like, oh, a high elf. Of course,
yeah.
Of course, people who didn't know elves were just like, oh, an elf. But Caitlin's like, oh, you're a high elf, because high elves are the descendants of sun elves, so they have a lot of similar features.
Mm-hmm. Striking features. He's fairly tall, around 6 foot. He's not too light for an elf. Like I said, he's a bit stockier than a standard elf. Lilac eyes, golden tinted skin. Other than that, he doesn't wear much in terms of armor, just some leather strapping, and he doesn't have any weapons on him at the moment.
Mm-hmm. You turn around. You have always been alone in this office aside from your boss, Caitlin. You have never been in here with someone else aside from one time the receptionist came in to give tea and they didn't give you any. You have not seen anyone else in this room, and it's actually, there are 5 chairs if you include the one behind the desk, but it's not really room for that many chairs. It's not going to be comfortable if all those, like, you would be touching knees if everyone sat down. It's actually a very small office for elves who, like wood elves especially, who love their space. You actually already know, without doing any kind of insight rolls, that this is kind of an insulting office. This is as nice as it is by human standards.
Well, I will go up to this unfamiliar high elf, sort of stop in front of him, give a slight bow, and then hold out my hand and say, "Excuse me, sir, you here for a meeting as well? I don't believe we've met before."
A bow? How quaint. Erevale's going to extend his hand, grasp it, Not firmly, not lightly. He doesn't really care at this point. Yes, I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing here myself. Some Irradian guards dragged me here.
So those fellas outside the door, they're here for you?
They're still there.
Well, you must be quite an important person then. Excuse my terrible manners. My name is Caitlin. How might I address you, sir?
I'm Vale. Pleased to meet you, Caitlin. You're a human, yes?
Yes. I've been here in Aradia for several years now, Sir Vale.
Yes, I can tell from your garb. Nice stuff.
Oh, my thanks. I must admit, it's not very often that that I come across. Well, it's obviously often that I come across elves, but I must admit I'm a bit flustered for there to be a high elf in this meeting as well.
Huh.
It's very unusual.
I am no high elf, though I forgive the mistake. I am a sun elf. You have heard of us, yes? Solar elves?
Yes, but solar elves are very rare, I thought. A pleasure to meet you, sir. Really, truly.
Right. Well, hopefully you'll hear a lot more about sun elves in the coming years.
I certainly hope so. I'll sort of take a step back, sit down in one of the chairs.
And wait uncomfortably?
Yeah, basically.
You become
I'm still smiling. I'm not uncomfortable with this. I'm just like, oh, this is interesting.
You know elves. You know that if there's going to be a pause, it's going to be a long one, and they don't care. And him being one of them, it probably makes sense. You become pretty accustomed to the ticking of the clock. It must be at least 10 minutes before the door opens again, and another human enters the room. In fact, Gilwyn. Would you like to describe yourself and how you enter the room and what you do?
Yeah, sure. I'll describe my appearance first. I'm a very tall human, notably slow. 6'2", in fact. I'm very, very thin because I have a strength of 6. So I am like bone thin, pretty much. But I'm not unhandsome. In fact, I'm still quite handsome. I've got short, messy, curtained brown hair. Sideburns flank my gaunt cheeks. And I've got a small scar on my chin. My nose is straight and true, unlike my mischievous, crooked grin. I wear like a maroon cotton shirt that's buttoned just below where the crest of my chest hair
You get some fluff coming up. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Some man fluff.
Some nice ribbage.
And fluff.
Some nice ribbage, yeah. And I just sort of walk in cockily, expecting to meet my boss. And who's in front of me as I open the door?
You would see Caitlin first, and then if you did a scan around the room, if you walk in, Vale would actually be like slightly behind you because it's kind of the way the door goes. But he's visible. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So I walk in, I see Caitlin, and I go, "You're not an elf." I turn and go, "That's an elf, but not the one I'm looking for." Where is he?
Greetings, sir. I do not know. I thought very much the same thing when I entered, not 10 minutes ago. Am I to suppose that you're an employee here as well? I sort of stand up and offer a hand.
I sort of do a little salute and keep my hands to myself.
A bard keeping their hands to themselves?
What?
Yeah, I'm fairly new.
Okay, well, I'm Caitlin. It's a pleasure to meet you. If we're both in the employ here, then I'm looking forward to working with you, sir.
Pleased to meet you, Caitlin. I am Gilwyn Gallagher.
Greetings, Gilwyn. I hope to have pleasant time spent working with you.
And as she's speaking, I spin on my heel away from her and look at the...
Yeah. Introduction's done. You can leave.
Still, yeah, I sort of blink a couple of times of that, but still smiling, just sit back down. Like, I'm not bothered.
And you, Mr. Elf?
Another human. And you say we're here to be employed. I presumed I was here for some form of beating. What a pleasant surprise.
That's why he's on the show.
We don't kink shame. We don't kink shame.
Don't kink shame.
Tell me, are the 2 guards still outside?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are they ever going to leave? I
hope
thought
they
perhaps
don't.
I'd have a chance to get away. Vale, pleasure to meet you, Gilwyn. Gilwyn. Yes. The subtleties of your changed accent. The subtleties of your human speech sometimes eludes me.
Well, I will try to enunciate for you, Mr. Elf.
You are. You know by now, yeah. You're an asshole about it, but they actually appreciate it. And there's not actually much longer of a pause. It's actually before you sit down. Like the door, you didn't close it behind you, Gilwyn. One of the guards closed it behind you because they found it annoying. But you were starting to talk, and they were like,
"They're still out there."
But the door opens again before you even sit down to a hooded dwarf. Like you look and you look down to a hooded dwarf in the doorway. Would you like to describe yourself, Thorak?
I'm hooded, and I'm a dwarf. I have my clothing is new. Like it's traveler's clothes, but they're new. They don't seem to have much wear or tear to them whatsoever. The cloak itself is also new, barely having any dust settling down by its lower brim. You know, picking up anything from the ground as he walks, and he walks quite close to the ground. When he walks in with kind of a hobble. One of his legs clearly isn't as good as the other, and so he walks in with a bit of a hobble to him. And so he looks around, one of his eyes and part of his face completely covered, the other one exposed. And so he looks around the room at the lot of you, resting on each one of you for a couple of moments before moving to the next, and just goes, huh, and makes his way into the room, and then looks around to see if there's any form of bar or any liquor or any very obvious.
There's the candy. That's all there is.
So he will say, "Does anybody here speak Dwarven?"
I do actually.
Oh, good.
I'm pretty sure I picked Dwarven.
Double check.
Yes, I picked Dwarven as my
figured you
language.
Yeah.
He cusses
No, I
in
don't.
Dwarven really quickly, where he's like, and he's more or less like fucking fairy folk. No liquor to be found.
I sort of like look at
fairy folk have
slightly
no
shocked at
firewater.
hearing that out of his mouth, and just sort of look at him slightly agape.
What did he just say?
Yeah, an insult against elves. It wasn't very pleasant, I must say. Criticising the lack of alcohol here, I think.
He, looking at you, the human, who clearly understood what he said, he actually looks up at you and like looks you full on, and he'll he'll hobble his way over to you and extends like a rather like hairy, meaty-looking hand. Like it's a rather thick hand, lots of like build up the arm and whatnot. But the thing is, the color is not quite right on the hand. As he reaches it forward, it's almost like it's a bit grayer. If you even know what they are, you might think that he has a bit of Dwarger blood in him or something like that, because it does look a bit off. And so he'll raise his hand to grasp yours.
Yeah, well, I'd respond. I'd sort of hesitate maybe for just a split second on seeing the cut of the hand, but I'd still reach out the hand with a smile and sort of take it to shake.
It's an obnoxiously tight grip. One of the ones where is he trying to prove something? Either way, he grips way too tight, and he's like, Forakro.
I was like not even acknowledge the fact that he's gripping so tight. I just I'm Caitlin Halen. Pleasure to meet you, Sir Thorak. I would actually say that in Dwarvish just to show off a little bit.
Yeah. Dwarvish is a little rusty, but good. I imagine
Yeah.
you, Thorak, would probably have some respect to her not flinching or struggling with the strength you're gripping. And she actually doesn't have any trouble with it. She looks very thin and lithe, but you actually can tell there's strength in those hands.
Mm-hmm. So I finish the handshake, and I just give a, and I look over and I pick up one of the pieces of candy and I sniff it, and I give it a little like, and put it back in the bowl.
Why didn't I think that was gonna happen?
I'd frown at that, and after he'd leave, I'd pick up the sweet and like look for somewhere else to put it.
It's too late.
There's no bins. There's no bins.
It's too late.
All right, do you all sit down?
Yes.
I do not sit. I mean, I imagine it's a bit of a struggle with my bum leg and my short stature.
Yeah,
to
it'd be
pop up onto a
uncomfortable.
chair.
Especially as an elven chair and all.
Yeah.
All right.
It might not be able to. I mean, I got that tick, that tick ass. So I don't know if I could support all of this.
I didn't know that was a saying that people said, but okay. It's again. Do you actually keep talking, or do you let an uncomfortable silence drop?
Oh, uncomfortable silence.
I would try and start conversation,
which is even worse.
I would just be like, so has everyone worked here for long, or sort of thing?
Do I notice Thorax like slightly grey skin when he's
everyone could have seen it.
Yeah.
He's very like, it's not obvious, but you being slightly in the know, like, oh, he's obviously hiding something. Yeah. People very like, sure, a cloak can be comfy and sometimes a fashion statement, but not for a dwarf.
Or indoors.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, or indoors, yeah. Not for a dwarf, not indoors. And again, so like because of the kind of graying it is, at least on his hand and arm, again, it almost alludes to him being like part Dwarger or Darrow, but that doesn't necessarily mean that is the case. So they exist in your world, right, Ollie?
Yeah. Darrow.
I don't know about Darrow, but
Dwarger. The Durgar definitely do, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Looking a bit pale. And I like sort of nod towards Thorak with a grin.
He doesn't even look up at you. Just gonna.
I said you. Never mind.
So, after that, the door opens again, and this is when you see your boss. Well, three of your bosses. Vale has never seen this man before in his life. A half-elfin fellow by the name of Valrorian. He is getting on in age. He's definitely aged more than he would have naturally. His face is lined with very, very deep, very heavy set lines that would look even worse if he wasn't a half-elf. He looks kind of in his early 40s, but he's probably 60s, maybe 70s. He hasn't said. His hair is neat and black, and it's made to look a little shorter than it is. It's kind of all tied back in a little Hoosits. And he's got a beard that both his hair and his beard are speckled with grey at this point. Gracefully going grey, but going grey. And he looks around the room. He's also wearing clothing that is noble, but not unique. Noble, but definitely bought from a shop. Not made for him, not got special designs to make him look like he's part of the house. And you actually know, Caitlin, that he is Valrorian Egast. He is actually a full, half-blooded member of the house. He looks at you all, walks around to the desk, which is a lot easier because Thorak didn't actually sit down. If he did, that might have been pretty hard. And sits at his desk.
I imagine whatever path he goes to take, Thorak's kind of like a little bit in the way.
Oh yeah.
And as he goes to move the other way, Thorak accidentally like moves in the way again. So it's like some semi like hallway dance for half a second before he's just kind of like Buster, and then like moves against the wall and sucks in his belly.
Well, thank all of you for coming here. I know it's strange. I've never asked anyone to be here all together, especially for the work that you do for me, but there's a different situation going on.
It's pretty different.
Now is where I will explain his job, and hence your jobs. He is a keeper of secrets, which is a very fancy elvish way of saying kind of a spy master. But based on the work that you three have been doing, Thorak, Caitlin, and Gilwyn, what secrets is he keeping? What spies is he doing? Caitlin has been doing bodyguard work most of the time, occasionally killing giant rats, doing things that a strong person with a sword would do. Gilwyn has been playing at a particular bar, listening to people and relaying the information. And Thorak, well, we probably won't talk about what Thorak was doing. But it's very petty. And with the title, you'd think it was so much more but all the things you do are incredibly petty. It's a little sad. But everything you do, and the reason of Keepers of Secrets exists, is that they do things unofficially, which is why you all entered unofficially. You aren't officially working for House Aghast. You're not even officially working for him. If you guys got in trouble, if you said that you were here for House Aghast, they would just be like, no. That's not true. That's impossible. So he kind of looks over you all and notices Vale in the corner of the room and nods. I have a task far more than I usually ask. And I must say that the information I'm about to give you in this room is trusted and dangerous and something I would like to keep secret.
I would nod very sincerely at that, earnestly at that.
As you know, my family makes weaponry. He actually, Vale starts to talk, and with no fucking respect at all, he speaks over. My family makes weapons. Particularly longbows, but we dabble in swords, everything. Even crossbows for the less nimble of those. I prefer... This is extremely important information, and all of you will have a stake in the mission I'm going to give you, but first, you must know of what I'm talking about. And he reaches into the desk. He makes a sort of hand motion before he does. Some kind of magical lock, perhaps, minor enchantment. And takes out a parcel, a sort of parcel, and unwraps it. And inside is a device. It looks like it should be held in the hand. There's a barrel, and it's made of metal and wood. And it's got some sort of decorations to it, and some leathers and some switches. You, as humans, know that this is a pistol. As characters, you have no idea what the fuck this is. Not even you.
But I'm a dwarf. I invented it.
Exactly, but so recently that you may have heard of if you weren't indisposed for the last while.
Yeah.
In fact, the person who's most likely to have seen one of these is Vale, but he just through chance hasn't paid attention enough. He also has with him tiny sort of inch cube paper squares, or like origami, and folds them. There is a tiny amount of a black powder that in the light, there is a candelabra on one of the walls. It sheens red. It sheens like a magical red, but it's black naturally. And he kind of waits to see if you're going to ask anything.
What is that?
This, I was informed by a fellow at a black market, is what they call a fire powder pistol. Supposedly, it's meant to take crossbows, and hence bows, out of the works. It is a weapon that fires metal ball bearings at an incredible speed and strength. I have tested it in private. And you can understand where my concern comes.
The name Pistol. It's a ridiculously stupid name, and we must change it at once.
I just give Gilwyn a look at this, like...
Give me a charisma roll, Gilwyn. Give me a persuasion roll.
A persuasion roll?
Yeah.
First roll of the game.
First roll, Valrorian smiles. And he sort of like wraps his knuckles on the desk a little bit. Actually glad that you told that joke, because it cut the tension. He's clearly a lot more worried than he's showing. Yeah, that was a joke. Or actual genuine concern, but I feel like Gilwyn is always joking. So, it's like, unfortunate, but the dwarves named it, not I.
That makes more sense. Does not seem to be something that your kind could do.
No, it's definitely something that your kind made.
Well, the obvious concern is that this would render House Aghast's entire meaning. It would render it redundant. This is terrible.
Yes, which is why I need to know more. this is why I have all of you together. I need you to go to the Dwarven lands. I need you to find where these are constructed. I have a contact who has found inklings in the Crimson Mountain. The city, not the mountain, although, honestly, the Dwarven naming conventions are unfortunate, like you mentioned, Gallagher. But I need you to all go there and find more about this technology, this magic. It is magic condensed.
You have a dwarf here. Why don't you have me just take this thing apart and see what I can find?
Because
I've got hammer. I've got tools. I take it apart and I find out.
I need this one in working condition, and I
put it back together afterwards. I won't smash this one.
I would rather you go and get the information from its source. I want to know what this is. He holds up the package. I need to know where they're getting it. I need to know where they're making these. They're incredibly rare. The smuggler said that he got them out via a trading company, but smugglers, even with charm magic, are unwilling to say much. But that is my job.
I hate to sound cliched, but what's in it for me?
You don't rot in a cell until you fade. Plus, payment appropriate to your success. If you bring me back information, that's good. If you bring me back more working pistols, more fire powder, blueprints, I can pay handsomely.
And after that I am free to go?
And that, the other three you know is not necessarily true. You have never been paid much. You're paid more here than if you were doing work off a bounty board. But it's never been the greatest pay. It's enough to live off. He looks to Vale and is like, free. But you will work for me. If you do well. If you do terribly...
I'm here for work. You've given me work before, and I enjoy the pay. But now you tell me go and steal secrets from my own kin. We are not fair folk. We do not lie to each other, and we do not steal from one another. We share amongst the clans. We are not like your kind.
Clearly,
well, your dirtier half.
Clearly, shadows are not your thing. What with the cloaking and hiding and all.
I like Gilwyn making that noise.
I would try not to pose myself between them and just be like, shall we all calm down a little bit? I do not...
Listen, prisoner over here, he can speak the shit that he wants to speak, but he's still prisoner, yes? You are doing bitch work because you are here to try to stay away sentencing. We are free men and women, he says, gesturing to the woman amongst them. Kate is her name, I think.
Caitlin.
Caitlin, gesturing to Caitlin. And we are here for money, but money, is that worth selling out to my people?
I would hesitate to say that I'm here for money per se, but this might not necessarily mean selling out your people in any case. Have you considered the possibility that it might be a dwarven make, but maybe it has come from elsewhere? Maybe the original technology came from elsewhere. I don't know, but just because the trail at the moment leads to Crimson Mountain doesn't mean it was necessarily made by your people, I would have thought.
And on top of that, if your words are true, Thorak, which they have been before, then you will go to the Crimson Mountain, you will see their city guard wielding these weapons, and then you will talk to them and get the information, and you'll have a much easier job. There will be no espionage necessary if what you say is true. I believe what you say is not true, but it is my very nature to be paranoid.
Yes, I'm sure.
I would
question
also...
everything as well if I were born like you.
Bale's just going to snort from the back of the room.
I look a bit uncomfortable and sort of half to change the conversation would say to Valorian, have you had Herbalist check out those powdery pellety sort of things? I don't know if those are necessarily metalworks in the same way the actual pistol is.
I have kept everything to myself, and now you. the more eyes that see, the more mouths that can betray.
Well, in that case, if you can spare one of those pellets, would you like me to have a look over it? I have a herbalism kit here, and my family taught me enough that I should be able to give it a brief look, at least.
Do not do it here, do it on the road. And he slides one of the little packages to you. It's got that powder in and a ball bearing.
Yeah.
It's
I know what you're
combo.
referring to, yeah.
Yeah.
I would sort of bow that and say, as you wish, sir.
It's like super early age bullets, effectively, self-contained
yeah.
bullets.
Yeah.
Yeah. After we stopped packing them and throwing the ball bearing in there, we just went, ooh, paper. Oh. Sorry.
You have your mission. Thorak, if you choose not to go on it, that'll be fine.
I'll
but
go.
Remember,
I'll supervise.
exactly. You know what dwarves are like, after all. The rest of you most likely don't. But you will have talents that might be necessary. Smooth talking, combat, breaking and entering.
I look aghast at that. Breaking and entering.
You will do what you have to do. But remember, if they catch you, you don't know me.
Okay. I look a little intimidated by this.
This
whole
is so
situation.
much more than you've ever had to do, yeah.
All of a sudden, there's like a grisly-looking dwarf opposite me, and we're talking about pistols and strange things. And Gilwyn he wanted to listen to people and sort of whisper back what they said. He was not expecting any of this.
Character remake.
Peace, bye, I'm gonna run away.
Yeah, I would take what he said as dismissal and sort
Yes,
of bow to him again and sort of turn to the others and say, well, shall we get started? There's no time like the present, and go to walk out the door.
Bell's gonna stand up and then put his hands on his hips. Where are my things? I cannot go without my bow.
Not one to waste time. I appreciate the fact that Caitlin wants to immediately get started, and so I turn and immediately start following after Caitlin and ignore the thing that's pointing.
Yeah, Valrorian, which the human ones around you would probably call him Val. He's one of those half-elves who has a shorter name for dealing with humans, longer name for dealing with elves. He picks up a bag, throws it at Vale, and I mean, it's a bag, but there's a bow sticking out of it, so it's pretty obvious that his stuff is in there. I'm making a risk with you. I could sell you to far more people for possibly far more money than I'll ever make with this secret.
My gold is gone. It is no longer in my satchel. I presume I get that back when I am free?
And more.
Am I still sat in the room,
Yes!
just, like, watching this whole thing?
Yes!
Wait a second. Did Val just say I got you by the sack?
Ha! Yes! Basically.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead, Dean.
Oh yeah, so I'm just like still sat, sort of thinking about this as you two have that conversation. But I don't really look. I just sort of.
And because the door's open when he's saying that, you can actually hear the guards outside leaving. Like, oh, like in Elvish, so not sure however many of you understand it. It's like, oh yes, that was the. We can go now. Blah blah blah. Fucked off.
No, I.
Was it Gilwyn? Come,
yes.
I will tell you about my home city. Vale's gonna put his arm round your shoulder and start telling you great detail about the floating city above Thundral. You know, it's a masterpiece. The dwarves couldn't do shit like this. A floating city? They live under the ground!
Enough!
Is this why you're leaving?
On hearing this, I would sort of drop back and be listening intently.
Yeah, you're like, oh.
As he's saying that, I'm like pointing. Thorax right there. Thorax right there.
Yes. This is the point.
Oh.
So
Yeah, dwarves.
you leave. You probably leave this building. the receptionist definitely writes something down as you're leaving. But when you leave, where do you go? That's really, really what the choice is. It's fairly early in the day. It actually would be almost crack of dawn, you know, just a couple of hours after, so people could actually start getting to work.
I would turn to the others and sort of say, well, I don't know about you all, but I'm not sure I have enough supplies to make a trip all the way to Crimson Mountain. I guess we can't afford any carriages or anything. I imagine you're probably in the same situation as me, all quite poor. So shall we gather some supplies and then set out? I imagine we're going to have to walk, to be honest.
I'm ready to leave at once, but I'll wait for you.
Vale's gonna keep rustling through his backpack as you're talking, and he's finding like a gold coin here and there, and he's like, ha ha ha, yes, they didn't find this one. And then he at the end, he's got like this measly little pile of gold coins in his hands, and he's looking a bit disgruntled by this point.
Which, of course, to Gilwyn and to the rest of you, it's actually quite a lot of money. I mean, like 2 gold is a lot of money to a commoner who,
Yeah,
I mean,
I've
sure,
managed to save
some
a
of you
lot.
have seen great gold, but still, like, you're still at the point where that's worth it. The fact he's disappointed is a little bit, you know, ugh. He could buy a lot of food with that, you know.
Yeah.
Isn't it like 1 ration? No, sorry, 4 days of rations.
I mean, yeah, rations aren't food though, are they?
No. Rations are specialized, so they're more expensive than typical food. So
Getting some lambus bread here.
right, he can be useful and hunt on the way. Yes, you can forage. Yes. No, that's a no. I think that is a no.
I think he could. I don't think he will.
After
Whether I can
Caitlin says
thresh it.
her thing and he's doing his thing, Fork will actually, whether if it's because just by sheer coincidence or one of them crosses the path with the other one, Fork will say to Gilly, right?
Gilwyn.
I'll
Gilly is the
eventually-
person
I'll
you
get it.
killed, Scott.
Oh,
That's where you got that name from.
Gilwyn is what I think. So Gilwyn, Gilwyn, he'll eventually say to Gilwyn and be like, "It is.
Huh? Hmm?
It is."
I sort of like, I squat completely. To... One more time, Mr. Grey Boy.
It is. It's a stupid name. Pistol. It's a stupid name. It doesn't evoke fear.
No, it sounds dirty.
Does
I
it
can-
have is it a dwarf? It's not a dwarvish word I'm familiar with.
Probably.
It's not like a crossbow where you're like, you know, it's a little. He didn't even show us at work. He could be telling lies.
Now,
You know these kind. His blood, it's half dirty.
Vale obviously has spent quite a lot of time on ships, and ships have cannons often, invariably, not that commonly. So I presumably would have knowledge of cannons.
Cannons,
powder.
yeah, black powder is different to this.
Yes,
but
yes.
yeah, you have seen cannons before, and the reason why I said you might have known is like on the sea, smugglers, maybe 1 or 2 would have
It's
seen
just
have these
really
weapons.
big minotaurs holding cannons. little
Yeah,
cannons.
like Minotaurs just
Like a
hold
pistol.
cannons, like ah.
But they've just
someone
got
else
to, like,
lights
hit
it
the back
behind them
then,
and
like,
put
hold it in the right
powering,
angle
yeah.
for like 5 seconds while the fuse burns down.
Yeah.
So after Forex says that, I just sort of like stand back up straight and I say, well, what would you call it?
Boomstick. Blunderbuss. More time, more names.
Those 2 were oddly specific. Well done. And then I walk away.
They certainly describe it accurately. Walk
I would
off
say
as well.
that an accurate description would be a miniaturized cannon, actually.
Miniaturized cannon? What, like on? I've heard of cannons being on ships, but I can't say I've come across many.
I'm going to, because I imagine cannons are not of dwarven make. That's like of a different species. Correct?
Yeah, dwarven ships, as fucking rare as they are, would use big old ballista.
Yeah. So he looks up at the elf square in the face when the elf makes a correlation between a dwarven created item and something else. Looks him square in the face as he goes, and then hawks a loogie right between his feet, probably right next to his back.
It's gross. It's definitely one of those ones that has like brown in it. It's gross.
Vale's not gonna let like the disgust hide on his face. He's like, oh.
So I was like walking. I heard what Caitlin said about shopping, and I've started walking away, and I like turn and like walk backwards and say, "Come on then."
I would sort of run a little bit to catch up to him.
I will also hobble my way after them, doing the best I can to keep up.
All right. What basic things do you want? I'm assuming you want rations. That's 5 silver each. You were not given money to do this job with. I know you don't need rations. You already have plenty rations.
Of course you need rations.
You need lots because you're a hungry dwarf boy, but you have plenty of rations in your traveler's coat.
I've got maggots. The maggots.
I would also want a bedroll because I actually sold mine to prevent being encumbered, but I'm just going to go encumbered again because whatever.
Yeah, like I said, you can just throw the bag.
How long is the journey to the Crimson Mountain? I have not done it before.
I would probably reasonably know this, given.
Yeah, well, I mean, feel free to do a survival check.
A survival check.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I cannot know it.
You think you have? See, the thing is, Caitlin.
Critical fumble rules.
Yeah. The thing is, Caitlin, you travelled the world when you were younger. The world seemed a lot bigger. You think it might be months. Months to get into the Dwarven lands. And then you remember the turquoise wall between the Elven lands and the Dwarven lands being this huge thing. But you don't have official paperwork. You might not be able to get through. Maybe you're going to have to break through. You are actually panicking a little bit. This is a huge job that you were not prepared for at all. By the way, a bedroll will be 1 gold.
Yep, done.
How much does a bedroll weigh? That's my question.
Like 5 pounds.
7 lubs.
£7, yeah.
£7. So now I'm even more encumbered. Yay. Oh, well. Doesn't make
That's
any
okay.
difference at this point.
Pretty much all of our characters are gonna be encumbered, but remember it's a free action to drop in items. So you keep track of. Did we discuss this before?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I'm very encumbered.
That's all right.
Got like a guitar and like every other stuff. He's like, ugh.
Dwarf sitting on top of you.
I get the feeling Gil might quite like that, to be honest.
Wow.
I have more hope than one.
Oh god. I'm gonna pick up. This didn't take long, did it? I'm gonna pick up some rations, and I will also pick up a bedroll because that's probably a good plan.
Yeah, these are these are things you can buy just about anywhere, so no trouble finding a shop to do that. There's a lot of little shops in Aradia. It's like some cities where you can find streets that are just lined with weird shops that are only open for a couple of years and then they disappear. There's a lot of that.
I just remembered this cloak has sleeves. Oh my god!
You were uncomfortable all this time?
Yeah. Oh my god! Look at that. Oh, I forgot. Oh, that's so much. That's so much better.
You idiot.
Oh my god. Okay. Sorry.
But yeah, is there anything else anyone else needs to pick up? I mean, like Caitlin said, you could feasibly get a carriage. You could even get a trip on the canals to the edge of the city. You are quite far from the edge of the city. I'll tell you now, when you leave to get going, it's basically a choice between going all the way to the edge of the city and staying the night in a trader's tavern, or going most of the way but staying in a more homely place. And that's basically the choice you're going to have to make at the end of the day.
I do not mind sleeping on the ground. The rocks are quite comfortable.
I mean, yes. While I'm not sure I'd quite go that far. I'd certainly like to make as much progress as possible.
Yeah, I'm happy sleeping on the ground. I've done it before with my dad.
He gives like a nod, like looking in your direction, but not necessarily directly at you, and gives like a.
Well, I mean,
can
I've
never quite
I've
tell
spent
where
many
he's looking.
days. I've spent many days out,
eye.
many nights out under the stars with my family. So yeah, I could go with that as well. Save us a little bit of money.
Oh, I forgot. We have with us Elf. You need fluffy pillow. Perhaps I go and kill 7 ducks and stuff one for you.
If you could find them, then yes, sure, do it. Have fun doing so.
You hear
could
ducks
just-
quacking from the nearby canals.
Please
I have
don't
no
actually
interest
do
in
that.
I know, it's just punctuation.
No, but Caitlin would actually say that. The ducks here are such a beautiful part of this city. It would be it would spoil it completely to go killing them.
I think they are very tasty food, actually.
I'd look at him aghast at this.
All right.
Actually,
You
I
have
know
not
the
had
duck
duck?
recipe.
Okay. With that,
We're
we-
gonna give like a re-evaluating look. A duck recipe. That's a plus.
that's oh, he can cook.
Knows some cooking.
All right. With that, we can take our first break. Oh, what? Look at this lovely group of misfits we have here. Oh, what? I sure wonder what's going on. I bet everyone in the party was like, "Oh, we're gonna do an elven adventure," and I'm like, "Fuck you, dwarves."
Just completely made one of my advantage things irrelevant. Thank you, Ollie.
Yeah.
You just straight up said, "Hey, go turn on your people. No problem. We'll see how this goes."
We'll see.
Good one to
Anyway,
start. Once you do that, nothing else is gonna stop you.
we'll see y'all in a period of time.